Hillary, you're coming through really well today. I don't suppose the weather is very good if you're still up in Taurus. That's about the worst looking part of our satellite picture, over. Oh, so you're in Uraparapara at the moment and going up to Taurus. Did I get that correct? Oh, roger that. All right, we'll get David on the job there. So you're in Uraparapara, and I don't have the coordinates of that, so you'll need to give me those so I can position you. And you're going to be going north over the next, want to know what it's like over the next 4 days. Give me the coordinates of your anchorage. As you go in, I take it, are you on the sort of the left-hand side or at the very end of the bay, over? Oh, it's exactly where we were. Okay, go ahead. Alrighty, and that will give David.
I'll tell you right now, you may want to read.
Oh, hang on a minute. Just hang fire because he'll cover that now. And good morning, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, Patricia and David, and we are going to just cover what it's like in Uraparapara, which is an absolutely amazing spot on the top of New Caledonia, the top of Vanuatu. It's the top of a crater, and you go in the entrance and you are sort of in the top of a crater. It's the most fascinating spot. Here's David.
And you may want to enjoy it a little bit longer. There's going to be a lot of wind up there through Saturday, maybe longer. And by a lot of wind, I'm talking about up to 35 knots in the mean. So quite a bit of air out of the southeast. So if you are heading up to the Taurus, it'll be a very fast trip. And hopefully you will have protection where it is that you're going up there in the Taurus. A lot of wind between now and then. Over.
Will it ease off after that? Yeah, he'll just have a look at that. Hillary, do you have the machine going now to give me your position, over? Okay, I have 1332 and 16720. Thanks for that. Yes, I don't. It's not a place where people go to a lot. Yeah, have you walked up to the rim yet, over? Okay, roger. All right, see what David's got ahead. Hang on.
Well, it's going to be windy all through the weekend, and even Monday and Tuesday, it's a good solid 20 knots out of the southeast. So, yeah, I'm afraid to give you that news, but there you go. Like I said, it'll be a fast trip, but you must hopefully have a spot that gives protection from the southeast. I don't see it varying direction, but just plenty of fresh, strong breeze. Over.
All right, and you probably would pay to call in again. It would be good if we got decent conditions again for on Friday, because as you know, that will be our last day, but you can always email David if you need it. I think you have to stand on top of the hill somewhere to get a signal at Uraparapara, but you might be able to get an email out anyway. All right, well, Cleo with Gracious Lady, and one of the most interesting spots in the South Pacific. It really is a very interesting spot, and the people have a unique lifestyle there. So it's quite an interesting place to be. And good morning. As you might have heard if you tuned in early, we had the most atrocious day of winter yesterday here at Gulf Harbour. Absolutely torrential rain, sleety rain actually. We didn't go outside at all, and it just had great rolling bursts of thunder. it was a horrible day, but now we have clear skies, 9 degrees C because of that, about 2 knots from the west and 1019.8 and rising. So that high is coming in, and a couple of boats are in fact preparing to leave Marsden area today. So safe sailing to you guys. But boy, they're going to have a lot of clothes on. It is nippy out there. All right, I am going to try and find Quintessa Allen. Any copy? Yeah, well, it's every time someone keys the microphone from your end, it was the same with Gracious Lady. It was quite noisy. I'll just see if Villamy or Pilgrim copy. Any copy, Trevor?
Yeah, I've got to Alan, go ahead.
Go ahead, Alan. 2-3 from the northwest.
We may go away next week. Do you want to make a deal with me at this point? I don't know whatever wait time you've got, but it's quarter past 7 here at this time on this frequency. No, that's fine. I'll make it this time, quarter past 7 here. I don't know what you've got. And I'll just relay your position through to Gold Harbour by email. Yeah, so we'll start that on Saturday. We make a lead. AK Cooper, Hello Production is 2818,000 154.05 west. The course is 065 degrees through. Goes to the 6 knots. He's got 15 knots in the west. 1012 and 100 cover with the calm seas. So it doesn't sound too bad out there.
Yeah, it does sound good. And I'd put down 23 knots of northwest, so I wasn't hearing too well here. So 15 from the northwest. Well, it couldn't get much better. Good going, Alan. Be very pleasant. Makes up for some of the other stuff. So, yep, we'll pop that in the system.
Northwest.
And
15.
tomorrow, northwest 15. So
No.
Hang on, I'm going to pass the microphone. I can't talk and listen too.
I can't do that either. Tomorrow, Alan, and you're on the top right side of a depression that's to your south. So your winds are going to be northwest tomorrow, it looks like. I would say anywhere from 20 to 25. There is a few 15s in there, but for the most part, the wind is going to be up. A little bit behind this depression, there's a squash. There's a high pushing into it, and the winds are 30 to 35, but that's well behind you. So we'll just have to see what happens there. That whole system is moving east pretty rapidly. So by I would say Friday morning, where you are, your winds will shift again to the southwest, and they'll be in the 20 knot range. Over.
Did you copy that?
Negative.
Yeah, he said he owed to
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. All right, we put that note that one. Yeah, we do actually keep track of you guys out there. Looking at the progress from one day to another, which prompts David to get a bit grumpy from time to time. But good reason to be slow if you need to hove to with headwinds.
When
That's
is he
for
heading
sure.
northeast?
David wants to know, Alan, when will you be heading northeast? When will you head northeast? Have you got a longitude in mind? Over. Another 500 miles. Okay, got that. Another 500 miles before you do that. Good man. Alrighty, we'll clear with you then. We've got Iolea leaving today from to head to French Polynesia as well. So everyone is slowly leaving this cold country. And those people that are on their way, clear with you, Alan. Thanks for that. You're coming through quite clearly now, actually. The old radio takes a while to warm up. I've noticed that with a couple of folk. Yeah, there's some quite good sailing going on for the boats that left last Saturday. You've got pretty decent winds, and some people have got swells up to about 3 meters. But boy, there's some very good directions, and everyone seems to be doing rather well heading north.
Good window.
So quite a good window at the moment. Everything is matching from the reports that came in this morning, and there were quite a few. Everything is matching the grids quite well. So that's good. No one's showing any problems. So people are around the 25, 26 south mark. And I see Scoots mentioned 3 meter swell. So, but at least it's coming from a good direction. All right, a bit of news for you folks. Just as well you are not around and driving your cars, because the fuel in Auckland goes up July 1, 11.5 cents. That was all confirmed by Parliament. They had to approve that. And in September it goes up another 3 to 5 cents a litre nationwide. Hopefully they're going to use this money to improve some of our roads. Bullshit, says David. I won't pass the microphone to let you know exactly what he thinks about what they do with our tax money. Anyway, big news from the States. Toys R Us, a huge company, 70-year-old company, has gone bankrupt and is closing down. And that includes all their shops in Australia as well. 31,000 US workers have lost their jobs, and no severance pay either. It just seems amazing that these humongous companies run into such strife. You know, I can remember the enormous shop that they had, several stories. I think it was in Fifth Avenue or somewhere in New York. Anyway, Toys R Us closing down. Heathrow, for you proms, it's going to get its third runway approved by Parliament. Bit of controversy about it, controversy if you like that expression. So it will become the world's biggest airport when it is completed by 2030. At the moment, there are 80 million passengers go through Heathrow a year, and that will rise to 110 million. They will be closely followed by Atlanta as the next one, or is the biggest at the moment, 104 million. Beijing, which is a surprise, is the next biggest. Then Dubai, which I'll be at on Friday night, Saturday. Tokyo, Los Angeles, and Chicago. And so a lot of big airports, probably best to try and avoid them. But anyway, that's what's happening in Heathrow. And they're going to have to go through quite a process of, I think 750 homes have to go, one big motorway has to be bypassed, and all sorts of strife. But anyway, Heathrow is going to get its third runway. Closer to home, the Rena, those of you who remember the big ship that crashed into the Astrolabe Reef when they were all asleep going from Tauranga, the Rena will stay on the Astrolabe Reef. I think Amari Group had decided it should go. God knows how they thought that was going to happen. But anyway, it went to court and they have decided that it will stay on the reef. It's actually a very good dive site. So there you have it. And that's the news that's fit to print. Not an awful lot going on. unless you are Lewis Hamilton, who's in the final stages of negotiating his salary with Mercedes for the next period. 40 million a year. 40 million a year. Now, how on earth can anyone use 40 million a year? Well, actually, he's doing quite well at using it. But anyway, I'm sure he's going to have a bit to spare. All right. Is there anybody who wants to give a position? Please call now, and then we'll look at going to weather. I think that's code blue. I'm not getting you all that well. Is that code blue, over? Go ahead. Okay, I didn't get the minutes of longitude, but everything else seems to tie in. 2729 17623, I think it was. Carry on, over. Okay, I'm just going to see if miraculously Trevor might have taken that down. Were you listening, Trevor?
I was. 2729 South 17629 East, and so the course was 340 magnetic, so speed 5.5. Now we have pretty steep cloud cover and 1017 and about a 3 meter.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, she just went a little difficult to hear at the end there. 3 meter swell. Well, there's someone else commenting about that 3 meter swell.
Well,
not just scoots, but
shouldn't be unexpected.
Shouldn't be unexpected, says the man beside me. All right, I assume all is well on board. You've certainly made reasonable progress. Well, certainly very good progress actually from yesterday. So all sounds good. All right, there seems to be a lot of weather to cover, so I'm going to clear with code blue. Thank you, Trevor, and we will pass the microphone.
All right, good morning. And yeah, there's a pretty big swell running out there. We've had that humongous depression over New Zealand and just pumping up very, very strong air from Antarctica and those big old waves down there heading north. But they're all in a good direction, and they ease as time goes on and the further you get from New Zealand, so things just get better. All right, we'll start with the 500 millibar as usual. Our shortwave trough, the villain in all of this, by lunch is going to be east of New Zealand with the vortex roughly 178 west, 178 west. Now over the Tasman, the 500 ridge is very well formed and continues to support our surface high, that's our hero, which has a central pressure of about 1033, 1033. Now the high is pushing a nice ridge northeast toward Fiji, and that is perfect for the passage north to the islands. Now the New Zealand depression is east of East Cape now, and that's being supported by that shortwave trough that we just mentioned. And it sends one of the few remaining cold fronts in an arc to the north. The end of the front is roughly 30 and 178 east. That's 30 and 178 east. And it's the reason that I suggested that you not put very much easting initially in your progress to the islands. Normally we do that when we head to Fiji or Tonga, but it wasn't a good idea in this case because of the tail end of these fronts. Now by midnight, that cold front will have moved north. It'll be around 26 and 176 east, 25 in the date line, and then it curves east southeast from there. And this position puts it about over Minerva Reef. Now north of the cold front, we've got two fronts and a trough. all parts of the mess from our last depression. That gave us a rather generous going away gift, if you will. No pun. One of them is about over Tongatapu, the other is grazing Babao as of midnight last night. They're sort of combining. Fiji also says hello to the tail end of the second front, and that's in the form of a trough over Fiji. Now today, any of you that well, you should be between 30 and 25 south, and most of you seem to be there, some a little bit further north, which is good. And you should have nice southerly quadrant winds to push you along. Now, you are fully under the influence of the new high that's in the Tasman. Yesterday, you were under the influence of the old depression with cyclonic flow. Today, you're under the influence of the ridge. And as I said, it's fairly strong at 1033 millibar. And the cloud is quite plentiful in the Southwest Pacific. They're almost all closed cell cumulus. There is stratocumulus as well. Anyway, that's all an indication of anticyclonic flow. If you were to see open cells, in other words, clouds that form a donut shape with a hole in the middle, that's the clue that you're in cyclonic flow. Now, there's going to be gusts in all of this, and some are going to be due to the squalls due to these clouds, and others that's simply air zipping down to the surface from the 850 layer. Now, by Thursday, everybody should be at 25 south. Winds will be a nice southeasterly for you. That's on Thursday. Very lovely southeasterlies. The trade winds at last, and enjoy them because they'll follow you up to the islands. Looking at 15 to 20 knots is going to provide pretty nice sailing, I think. And late on Thursday, Minerva beckons a lot of you. Southeast 20 in that range for Minerva Reef late Thursday, and it should be pretty nice weather for Minerva as well. And we talked about the westing that you put in today. You can cease that if you're trying to keep to the west a bit. You don't have to now. You can head basically rumline for whatever island group that you want to go to, and you certainly don't need to pay a router to do a rumline course, do you? So it looks pretty good. Now by Friday, if you're not at anchor in Minerva, you should be pretty much at Tongatapu, southeast 15 to 20 to slip in there. If you're Fiji bound, some of you might be there, but more than likely around 20 south. And if there, expect southeast about 20 as a mean wind. And the Newcastle bound yachts, well, you should be in the pass by then, or one of the passes, or darn close to it. And the same if you're going to Anishan. Now, by dinner time on Monday, for the boats that are leaving today, this is for you folks, you need to be near 20 south by Monday, in my opinion. This is pretty much the end of this lovely window that we've got Monday. After Monday, things start to change as the big high moves to the east and the winds start to go northerly quadrant. We are going to have an intra-anticyclonic trough in there, and that's going to be giving some nasty little headwinds to Fiji or Tonga. Now, those of you going to Anishan or Newcastle, you might be able to squeak into there because most of the activity is going to be near the date line. So Anishan, Newcastle bound, you may be okay. Late Tuesday, that sort of time frame. But those that are going today need to go.
Tomorrow.
And what'd I say?
Somebody wants to leave Thursday.
Oh, yeah. Well, we just have a note here that somebody wants to go on Thursday. That's a little late. I don't know where you're going. Did they say?
Fiji via Minerva.
Going to Minerva, well, you should be okay going to Minerva, but you need to scoot along and get up there as quick as you can, not dilly-dally. Okay, we'll take a look at the islands now, and I know this part of the weather is boring unless you're you happen to be in the island chain that I'm talking about. So bear with me on it. So Tonga, as I mentioned, there is a trough, a double trough really, lying over the group. It's fairly weak, but it is bringing cloud and occasional showers. Now the trough is slowly drifting north, and by tomorrow morning it may possibly be quite fair over the entire group. So let's hope. At 5 a.m., all the reports are in that I look for. The bow, east-southeast, 5 to 10 knots. Broken clouds, temperature 23 and the dew point 22. So it is very humid, but the temperature is down considerably. Barometer 1013. The Hapais, southeast 7 to 10. Showers, scattered to broken cloud, and a temperature 23, dew point 21. If you're in showers, the dew point will be higher than that. Barometer also 1013. Tonga Tapu report southeast 10, scattered cloud 22C, dew point very low, 15 degrees, and the barometer 1015. Now by lunch, the winds will become quite fresh. I'm looking at south-southeast 20 to 25 knots for the bow and the Hapais. Tomorrow, a little bit lighter, maybe east-southeast to southeast in the 20 knot range. Now, long range on Sunday, coming up in a couple of days, Sunday. Hold on to your hats, because I see a good 25 knots out of the southeast. It's a good solid 25, I think, and that is going to mean higher gusts than that. So whatever you've got planned, I hope it's not involving a long passage somewhere. Moving over to Fiji and looking at satellite imagery, we can see the weak trough, plenty of breaks for the sun to poke through. This may all be gone tomorrow and replaced by maybe another one on Friday. We'll see about this tomorrow. Better luck. The strong high in the Tasman is producing the trade wind surge. We've talked about the trade wind surge before. In fact, Fiji Met is continuing with a strong wind warning for nearly all areas of Fiji. It's a very, very long paragraph of a lot of names, and the list is too long to read out. So I think in general, just simply expect plenty of cloudy periods and strong winds, including some showers. I would say southeast winds 20 to 25 knots, and after lunch, they'll be increasing to 30 knots. The seas are going to be rough on top of a moderate southerly swell that's rolling in. That big swell that you've all reported on passage, well, that's rolling into the island groups as well. Radar returns show showers for southern Vanua-Levu, Taveuni, and the Rambi area. Returns also for southern Viti-Levu and the western Poro Sea. And of course, Nandi radar is not operational, so I can't tell you what's happening there. Now, winds for much of Fiji tomorrow look to be southeast in the 20 knot range, but 25 knots easily for Vatui Ra and southwest Viti-Levu. So we're going to have winds for a few days. Vanuatu is also under trough conditions. There is plenty of cloud seen on satellite imagery, as Patricia mentioned, with light to moderate showers, mostly in the north. The winds are up. Expect 20 to 25 knots for mostly all open waters. Lighter in the lee. The same with Fiji, by the way. I gave you those strong winds for Fiji, but if you're in tight on some of the big islands, you're not going to get that kind of wind, but I think you know that. That's all pretty obvious. Anyway, back to Vanuatu. Strong winds, again, lighter in the lee areas of the islands. Southeast will be the prominent direction in the open water. Seas to 2.5 meters. Again, it gets rougher than it sounds because of those seamounts. Port Vila and Luganville, the winds are lighter there, 10 to 15, as obviously those areas are reasonably protected. Now Now tomorrow, the northern half of Vanuatu will see southeast 25 knots, while a wee bit lighter in the southern half, I'd say southeast 20 in that range. And we're almost done. Newcal shows plenty of scattered cloud on satellite imagery. And forget about exploring the lagoon. We are looking at east-southeast winds, 25 knots, gusting 30 to 35. I'll say that again, 25 knots, gusting 30 to 35. And there'll be some showers thrown in if that's not enough for you. In fact, the dinghy ride to shore, if you're anchored, is going to be rough. So stay tucked in, head for shore maybe for some attractions or just simply sleep in, but it is not weather to be out in the lagoon.
What about in the north?
I can assure you. The north, I haven't looked at the north at all. So somebody could call in if they want something up there. Now it should ease tomorrow, east-southeast 15 to 20, but partly cloudy for the lagoon, and still rough conditions for the loyalties. Boy, they're 20 to 30 knots there tomorrow with showers as well. So Newcal's a pretty rough spot for a few days. And that is all I have. So if you have any questions, come now. And here's the chief.
Well, Serrani are way up in Poom and in a really good sheltered lee there, so they'll be tucked up and quite comfortable in those strong trades. I wouldn't mind hearing from Ocean Fever to make sure Barney is all good, heading into Nui Tuputapu. Is there any other questions? Nothing heard, and I'll ask Trevor in a moment, but I do have a couple of things of a more administrative nature. Google, and this affects anyone who looks at our website, www.ghradio.co.nz. Google, like most of these outfits, are looking at becoming billionaires. They are now implementing a huge change to their browser in relationship to all the website owners. They are going to mark all websites without an SSL certificate, which is basically a security protocol that verifies that your website is safe to use. If you don't have one of these, it's going to be listed as not secure. So instead of the website starting off with HTTPS, it will have a statement that says not secure. Now, you can get an SSL certificate if you pay $500 to start with and then $250 per year. Now, I'm just simply not going to do that. We have spent a lot of money this year getting the website up, a couple of $1,000. We are prepared to put a lot of work into Gulf Harbour Radio, but it's just this sort of thing is just going beyond what we are prepared to do. It's just too much money. Even if you all made a donation, I just don't think I want to spend it on Google. And it doesn't matter for us. It's not an interactive website. You're not going on and risking anything. If you look at anything on Gulf Harbour Radio, you can certainly go on and download some of the very interesting weather papers if you have trouble sleeping. So you won't have any trouble with that, and I am just simply not going to pay this extra money to have this protocol. So although you will see it come up as not secure, it will not affect anything that you do on our website. Now that is not the same situation for poor old Mike running YIT. YIT is an interactive website, and he is going to have to pay this money, so you might give some thought to that. It is good if people support the outfits like YIT and Gulf Harbour Radio that are supporting you. There are a lot of costs involved, and there's server costs, and not even thinking about things like power costs and all the rest of it. But just be assured that if you go on to Gulf Harbour Radio and it says not secure, don't worry, there's not going to be gruesome bugs jump out and into your system because you are not interacting with it in that way. Hope that is understandable. All right, I'm going to miss on playing the wonderful national anthems for all the folk that have their national days in July. So apologies to Canada, USA, France and Belgium. We will miss out on congratulating you on your national day because we won't be here in July. Not one day in July. So we will be back in August. All right. Ocean fever. Ocean fever. Any copy, Barney? Nothing heard. If someone in Nui Tupatapu, one of the boats there, could let me know that ocean fever is in, that would be good. We like to look after our single-handers. Anybody with anything else, please call. Oh, good morning, Bill. Go ahead.
I am in the hallway. Moving on from dining tomorrow, and then up to the coast on Friday.
Okay, just getting that down. You are in Makongai and Magani tomorrow, and then moving on Friday. Boy, there's certainly no barnacles on Liberation this year. Okay, thanks for that, Bill. Got all of that. Alrighty, I'll just make sure I've got Makongai in my system here. Hold everything. Just so that I can write things down. Yep, I do. No problem. Yeah, some of these places, folks, just if you're wondering what I'm talking about, I have the Latin long, so I don't need to ask you for that. All right, but I don't have the next one, so we'll need to talk to you when you get there, Bill, on Friday. Okay, anybody else? Juice, go ahead. Scoops, I mean.
A quick question for David, and I was sleepy when I wrote it down. Which kind of clouds go with the anti-cyclone?
Okay, we're going to pass the microphone for Mandy to hear about the type of clouds in the anti-cyclone.
Oh, well, that's good. Somebody has got some interest. Thank you very much. Sometimes I wonder. I think I put people to sleep. Okay, well, typically in an anticyclone, you have what we call closed cell clouds. So in other words, it looks just like if you were to look at a satellite image, you would see just a cloud. If you took a paintbrush with some white paint and just jammed it down on top of the canvas, it would just be a small blob. If you have if you have cyclonic flow, if you're in the air behind a cold front, as an example, you would have open cell clouds. And what they look like are donuts on satellite imagery. So exactly what I said. You would see a circle, a ring of cloud with a hole in the middle, and that's indicative of cold air in cyclonic flow. Now, oftentimes in anticyclonic flow, in other words, a high pressure area, if you aren't seeing individual clouds, you very typically will see stratocumulus clouds. In other words, the whole sky will be sort of lumpy looking, and sometimes you'll see waves in it and this sort of thing, but you won't see a lot of separation between all of this. It'll just sort of be one layer. And what that is air rising up, cloud is forming. It can't go any higher because of the inversion layer, and it spreads out, and that creates the stratocube. So those are the three basic things that you see if you're looking at satellite imagery. Now, if you're standing on your boat and you look up, it's going to be very difficult to see an open cell because they can be fairly large. We're talking about a couple of miles across, and it's a little bit difficult to make it out, particularly as the clouds are all moving. But that's sort of the idea. Over.
Oh, well, thank you very much. We have the ability to get NOAA satellite pictures here, so we'll be looking for that. I just wanted to make sure I wrote it down correctly. Thanks a lot.
Okay, and if you really, really want to get into satellite pictures, there is a paper on the website, the now not secure website, that you can have a look at. It's quite detailed, but it's helps in satellite interpretation. It is written basically for the people like the cruisers who are not, real meteorologists. So you might want to have a look at that if you really want to get into good interpretation. We used to have a satellite receiving antenna before it broke down on Chameleon, and so it was absolutely wonderful, particularly when you were miles away, sort of crossing the Pacific or whatever, and in areas that you couldn't get much weather information. And that's what David decided to, because he couldn't find anything that was really good on interpretation, so he decided to work on putting that paper together. So if you have an interest in satellite interpretation, looking at those clouds, and it's a really good example at the moment actually. If you look at the big high that's coming towards New Zealand, the sooner the better actually, you see all these discrete cloud formations on the satellite picture if it's a good one, and the Japanese satellite is real good to show that. All right, anybody else with anything? No, nothing heard, and I think at a life you would have heard David's comment about the trip to Fiji leaving tomorrow. You'll have to catch up on those ones leaving today, but get away good and promptly and put the pedal to the metal to get ahead of things there, and safe sailing to those who are leaving and are on passage. So that's about it from us. We will be back again tomorrow morning, same time, same place. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, Patricia and David, and the frequency is all yours.